Off air, you were talking a little bit about minimizing the amount that landlords can increase rent,
Yeah,
and that is actually going to have a reverse effect.
totally.
And is that something you've seen? Can you explain
Yeah.
that a bit
So
as well?
so what it is like right now the NDP has put a cap on what residential rents can sort of increase year over year, and it's about 2.5% of what the previous year is. And what we've seen happen is where governments have stepped in and tried to cap rental rates through private sector money, it has a really, really bad outcome. And what you're seeing right now is if I'm a multifamily owner and I have a building that has 15, 20 units in it or whatever, if my income is or my potential income is capped at 2.5%, yet my property taxes are going up, my cost of recycling and garbage is going up, my cost of hydro is going up. Not right now, but sooner than later, my interest rates are going to go up if I'm carrying a mortgage. Why am I going to invest into a property where I have a restricted income increase of 2.5%, but my bottom line might be going up by 5 or 6%? It just
Mm.
doesn't make a lot of sense. And I understand why they bring it in. Like, I understand what the purpose of it is. But what
Yeah.
happens is people are investing tens of millions of dollars to buy these buildings and develop these properties. And if I'm going to invest that type of money, but you're going to restrict how that money flows, I'm not going to invest it. I'll go build overpriced condos.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're seeing is a lot of these people will eventually start to pivot on where they put the money in. So I think long term, it's a short term solution, but it's a long term problem because what's going to happen is eventually the supply of rental properties will start to diminish because people won't be interested in buying multifamily buildings and fixing them up. They won't be interested in buying purpose built rentals and developing them
Yeah.
because now I'm being told how I can spend my money. And when
Yeah.
I'm investing 10, 15, 20 million dollars for you to tell me what I can do and can't do, not a lot of guys with that type of money are going to listen.
Yeah.
So what they do is they just go build something else,
Yeah.
right? So I think you're going to see in the short term, there's probably a lot of hands in the air high fiving, but what's going to happen in the coming years is as that starts to filter through, supply and demand is going to kick in a lot worse than it is now because the supply pool is going to fall and demand's going to increase. Which what happens is once my tenant moves out, it's fair market for whatever I charge. So if my tenant was paying me 1,500, and there's a lineup of people that are willing to pay me 2,000, well, guess what? I'm charging 2,000, and I'm going to get it. And then when the next person leaves in the building, my greatest comparable is my $2,000. Well, the
Mm-hmm.
vacancy rate's gone down. Now it's 2,200. So
Mm-hmm.
what's going to happen over time is the supply pool shrinks, demand increases, and rents will actually go up further.
Yeah.
And
Because
that's a
eventually
problem.
people will move, things will reset, and it'll.
Yeah, it'll create. It's a problematic
Yeah.
problem waiting to happen. And when you look at, from a Vancouver uh, geographical region, is people Amazons and Apples and all that they're planting. They're taking up hundreds of thousands of square feet
Mm-hmm.
downtown Vancouver, and they're going to bring in all of these young
Five, six
professionals
thousand jobs at a
that
time.
are going to have the money to pay $2,500 a month because they're working in the tech industry. They've got a lot of disposable income, and they're going to be able to pay this type of money based on their salaries and their income, and that's going to push it out even further for people that maybe don't have those same opportunities.
Yeah.
And when you take supply and you're bringing potential more money into the area through job creation, and you're shrinking the supply pool, and Vancouver, we're landlocked with what we can do, you're going to drive rates up even higher. And I think if you look at Seattle, this past year, I think they lifted the rental restrictions 3 or 4 years ago. And this past year, they actually had a decline in rental rates in the
Mm.
downtown core. And what it is when you take off of those restrictions, you encourage private sector money to invest versus you put restrictions on it, private sector money goes elsewhere. And they're going to
Yeah.
go build small bay industrials or they're
Yeah.
going to go build overpriced condos. And that's the problem I think that we're going to run into in the next 2 to 3 years because we can't deliver as many doors needed for people coming in
Right.
right now. And I think it's just going to be a problematic
So
situation.
new developments they'll simply just start higher. They'll anticipate
Yep.
Yeah.
that this is going to
Or
be here.
if I was going to build, if I had money and I could build a rental building, and there's some programs like with the city of Vancouver that they're kind of debating on right now, incentives to build rental programs for private
Yeah.
sector. And if I have a piece of land and I'm looking to build residential on it and I want to rent it out at a rental building, but you now as a government are going to tell me what I can do and can't do with how I can control my income. Well, guess what? I'm just going to build overpriced condos.
Right.
And I'm going to sell them at overpriced. And then as an individual buyer, I'm going to buy a strata lot for 600,000, 700,000. And they're going to be, well, to service my debt, I got to charge $2,500. and again, it creates that thing. Or people, they just cancel the applications altogether, or maybe they
Yeah.
say, you know what, I don't want to build a strata building. Maybe I'll look at doing a mixed use development, or maybe I'll look at office, or maybe I'll just sell the land off. And it creates a lot of uncertainty out there.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of coupled with some local municipalities right now that have made some questionable decisions. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty in the development business right now, which doesn't create a lot of good outcomes for renters in the coming years if supply is not available to them.
Yeah.